Welcome to the third part of transport in mammals. So far, we have looked at the heart. We have also looked at the blood vessels. We also did a part of blood. So we're going to finish up on blood, and we're also going to take a look at another transport system which is found in animals called the lymphatic system. Let's get started. So we're going to start with blood groups. What we want to learn is about blood transfusion, what to do before blood transfusion, how to determine if blood transfusion is possible. So we're going to start with learning about blood groups. So the type of blood group in a human being is determined by the type of antigen present in the cell membrane of the red blood cell. So you get a red blood cell. On its cell membrane, there are what are called antigens. The type of an antigen that is present there determines the blood group. So what are the types of antigen that you can find in a human body? So there are two antigens, namely antigen A and antigen B, represented by this for antigen A and these two symbols for antigen B. Okay. So there are times when an individual doesn't have antigen A and also antigen B. So such an individual will represent, we call them to have antigen O, which basically means they don't have these two antigens. So this system of grouping blood is called the ABO blood group system. So there are four possible blood groups using this system, namely blood group A for an individual with this antigen. Then there's also blood group B for an individual with this antigen. Then there's blood group AB for an individual with both of these antigens. It's possible to have both of them. Then there's blood group O, where an individual doesn't have these two antigens. So since the red blood cells determines the blood group using the ABO system, then on the other side we have the defensive part of the body which defends the body against infection. So we're talking about white blood cells that are of two types, phagocytes and lymphocytes. Remember, phagocytes digest particles, germs. So if there is any foreign particle inside a human being, the phagocytes are going to go for it and digest it. On the other hand, we have the lymphocytes. The lymphocytes, they destroy germs or foreign particles by releasing what are called antibodies. These antibodies or antitoxins are going to destroy a foreign particle. Okay, so the way it works is the lymphocytes in each type of blood produces antibodies against non-self antigens. So what does it mean, non-self antigens? So if an individual has antigen A, so the lymphocytes know that the blood group is A. So what they are going to be doing, they are going to be producing antibodies whose job is to destroy anti-B, because they don't want anti-B in that person's body. That person's body is supposed to have antigen A. So they don't want antigen B. So they are going to produce antibodies B so that they attack any presence of antigen B. Okay, so a person, in summary, a person has antigen A, so they don't want to have antigen B, because when they have antigen B, it means it's foreign, it's not for that person, so it might mean infection. So the lymphocytes are going to be producing antibodies whose job is to destroy antigen A. So they're going to be producing antibodies B to attack antigen B. That's how it is. So I'm going to illustrate how this happens for the four types of blood. So I'm going to start with an individual with blood group A. So this individual with blood group A is going to have lymphocytes that secretes antibodies B. Okay, so in case there is any foreign antigen B is going to be attacked by antibody B. That's how it works. What about a person with blood group B? So for a person with blood group B, we expect the lymphocytes to be producing antibody A, meaning that these antibodies are going to destroy antigens of type A. So in case this person has blood in their body which is not theirs, meaning that it is of type A, then the antibodies are going to destroy this blood. What about a person with both antigens? What should be the antibodies? If we have antibody A, then it's going to destroy antigen A. If we have antibody B, then it's going to destroy antigen B. So for such an individual, we don't have antibodies. What about an individual with blood group O? This particular individual doesn't have antigens. So in the body, the lymphocytes are going to have both antibody B and antibody A to destroy any presence of antigen B and antigen A. So antibody A is going to attack any foreign antigen A. So whenever there is antigen A in their body, it's going to be attacked by antibody A. And whenever there is antigen B in their body, it's going to be attacked by antibody B. The idea is the body knows that this person doesn't have antigen. So any antigen that's going to be detected in the body means it's foreign and should not be allowed. So in summary, this is what we're discussing. So group A individuals have antigen A, and the antibodies present are anti-B. Group B is antigen B, and antibodies are anti-A. Group AB is both antigens and they don't have antibodies. Group O, they don't have antigens and they have both antibodies. Next we look at blood transfusion. So this refers to the transfer of blood from one individual called the donor to another one called the recipient. So before any blood transfusion can be done, there is a test that has to be done, which is called blood compatibility, which refers to the capacity of a blood recipient to receive the donor's blood without leading to what is called agglutination or clumping of the blood received. Okay, so what is agglutination or clumping? So agglutination occurs when antibodies in the recipient's blood attack non-self antigens present in the donor's blood, causing the red blood cells from the donor to stick together. Maybe I read this again. Agglutination occurs when antibodies in the recipient's blood attack foreign antigens. That's what it means. Non-self foreign antigens present in the donor's blood, causing the red blood cells from the donor to stick together. So what is the effect of agglutination when the red blood cells that have been donated in that blood have been attacked by antibodies and now they are stuck together, they're clumped together? What happens? So this may cause blockage of blood vessels, kidney failure, and sometimes stroke. Therefore, any blood group that have different antigens are incompatible. Okay, so don't get someone with blood group B who has antigen B and donate it to someone who has blood group A, meaning that they have antigen A. Once the antigens are different, then the bloods are incompatible, and you cannot do blood transfusion. So what are some of the cases where you can do blood transfusion other than having the same blood type? So here are some cases. Blood group O can be given to any blood group because, remember, it has no antigens. So you can put any type of blood in blood O. You can take blood group O and put it in any other blood because it does not have antigens. So the antibodies in the recipient's blood will not be able to attack the antigens since they are not there. Okay, so for this reason, blood group O is called a universal donor. But blood group O cannot receive blood from another blood group. Why? Think about it. Blood group O has both antibodies A and B. So if you donate blood to a person who has blood group O, then the antibodies in that person are going to attack the antigens in that blood that has been donated. So blood group O can only receive blood from another blood group O who also doesn't have antigens. Blood group AB can receive blood from all other blood groups because it has no antibodies to attack the antigens in the donor's blood. Remember, blood group AB, no antigens, so it can't attack. So it can therefore receive blood from all other blood groups. Hence, it is said to be a universal recipient. However, this blood group AB cannot give blood to another blood group. Why? Because it has both antigen A and antigen B. So if you get this blood group AB, you donate it to a person who has blood group A. Remember, a person who has blood group A, they have antigen B. They have antibody B. So that antibody B is going to attack the antigen B in blood group AB. Let me say that again. So blood group AB has both antigens, antigen A and antigen B. So if you donate blood in a person with let's say with blood group A, that person has antibody B, meaning that it does not allow blood group B to be donated. Now this blood group AB has both antigen A and antigen B, so the antigen B is going to be attacked by the antibody B found in a person with blood group A who has antigen A but antibody B. Hope you are able to wrap your head around that. So a person can receive blood from another person of the same blood group without complication arising, just like we mentioned before. So now there is a procedure which is done before blood transfusion called blood screening, which is the testing of blood in order to determine the following. So before you do blood transfusion, you have to determine the following. First, know the blood group. Second, know the rhesus status. So the rhesus status, we're going to discuss it shortly. Then check for infections such as hepatitis and HIV. So once there are no infections, once the rhesus factor is determined, and once the blood groups are compatible, then you can do blood transfusion. Next, we look at rhesus factor. So this is a blood antigen that can contribute to complications at childbirth or during blood transfusion. So there's an antigen on the red blood cell, or on the cell membrane of a red blood cell called which is called the rhesus factor. So these blood antigens can bring about complications, especially at birth and also during blood transfusion. So a person whose blood has this antigen is said to be rhesus positive, represented by capital R and small letter H plus or just Rh positive. While a person whose blood does not have this antigen is said to be rhesus negative, represented by these symbols. So the rhesus status of a child depends on the status of its two parents as described below. Okay, just like the HIV status of a child will usually depend on the status of the parents, so even for the rhesus it's the same. So if both or one of the parents are rhesus positive, all their children will be rhesus positive. If both or one of the parents are rhesus positive, all their children will be rhesus positive. If both parents are rhesus negative, all their children will be rhesus negative. So that's how it is. So what's the issue with rhesus anyway? So if some of the blood of the fetus, that is during childbirth, enters the mother's bloodstream during pregnancy or birth, the mother's blood begins making the anti-rhesus antigen. Okay, so let's say the husband is rhesus positive or the mother is rhesus negative. Okay, so during childbirth, since the rhesus status of a child is determined by the rhesus status of the of both parents. So if the father is rhesus positive, it means the child is also going to be rhesus positive. So during pregnancy, if the blood of the fetus enters the mother's blood, the lymphocytes are going to detect that we have foreign antigens in here. These antigens are not the ones that determine the blood group, but actually they are rhesus antigens. So since the body of the mother doesn't have the rhesus antigens, what's going to happen is the lymphocytes are going to create antibodies which are going to be against the rhesus antigens, which are called anti-rhesus antibodies. So what do these antibodies, what are these antibodies going to do? Next time, if that mother has a child with who again is rhesus positive, what's going to happen is the antibodies are going to go into the child and it can result to complications. So let me just what I've said, let me just take you step by step. So if the woman conceives another rhesus positive fetus, these antibodies will cross the placenta and attack the blood of the fetus. Placenta, we're going to discuss this when we start reproduction. At the time of birth, the baby will suffer from hemolytic disease, which leads to death if the baby does not receive a comprehensive blood transfusion soon after birth. So once this is discovered, the rhesus status, soon after birth, there should be a comprehensive blood transfusion to protect the baby against those antibodies that have come from the mother. Any subsequent pregnancies are miscarried and fail to thrive up to the time of birth. So it's very important for people who are married to know their rhesus status so that they avoid going through these bad things which come as a result of the rhesus status. Next, we look at blood disorders. So we're going to start with sickle cell anemia. So this is going to be very short. So this is an inherited disease where a person has abnormal hemoglobin. So by inherited, it means you get it from the parents or people get it from their parents. That's what it means by being inherited. So in sickle cell anemia, a person is going to have an abnormal hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin will result in the red blood cell to develop a sickle shape. A sickle is that tool they use to cut grass. Okay, in the villages when grass has grown tall, so to cut grass we use what is called a sickle. Okay, I think in vernacular, I just know in Nyanja, especially Eastern, they call it cheko, something like that. I think it's taken from the word sickle. So the disease reduces the capacity of the blood to transport oxygen. Since the hemoglobin has this sickle shape, so it can't carry a lot of oxygen, so the person is going to have problems in breathing and the likes because there's no enough oxygen reaching all part of the body. So this is what I mean. So this is a normal red blood cell, and these are sickle shaped red blood cells. Next, we look at the second blood disorder called hemophilia, which is also an inherited disease where a person bleeds for longer periods than normal due to poor clotting of blood. So remember the clotting of blood we discussed. So due to hemophilia, the person is going to have longer periods than normal bleeding. So whenever they cut themselves, blood will just be coming out. So it is caused by the absence of blood clotting proteins known as factor 8 and factor 9. So these are blood clotting proteins or blood proteins that help with clotting. Now, if they are not present, then someone might end up having hemophilia. The next one is leukemia. So this is defined as cancer of the white blood cells. So this is just a cancer of white blood cells. Finally, we look at the lymphatic system. So I know we have discussed a lot of things, but just refocus your energy to this last part. It's going to be very short, new but short. So the lymphatic system is a transport and defense system made of lymphatic vessels and glands. So other than the circulatory system that we know, there's also what we call the lymphatic system made of other vessels called lymphatic vessels and also glands. So the function of the lymphatic systems are: 1, it drains excess tissue fluid and takes it back to the blood. Okay, so if in the body there is tissue fluid, it's going to be drained and it's going to be taken to the blood. The second is it adds lymphocytes to the blood. So in the lymphatic system, there are parts where lymphocytes or white blood cells are created, then they are going to be added to the blood so that the body has a good defense system. It absorbs and transports cholesterol, fat acids, and glycerol to the blood. So remember, fat acids and glycerol in the small intestines, they are absorbed in the ileum, of course. So there is what we call a lactio. So that lactio is part of the lymphatic system. So this is a picture that shows some of the important parts of the lymphatic system. So I want you to pay attention to the cervical nodes here, so which are just between here, the neck. So this one is very important because it is here where the what is called the lymph, which is the fluid that passes through the lymphatic vessels, is taken to the blood. Okay, so then there is also these networks which are like veins, actually the lymph vessels. Okay, then other than that, there is the spleen, which is the largest organ in the lymphatic system. Okay, then other than this, there are these circular like parts which are called lymph nodes. Okay, so the main parts I've shown you are the cervical nodes here, the lymph nodes, then the lymph vessels, and of course the spleen. Let's take a look at what they do and how the lymphatic system as in whole works. So the components of the lymphatic system are lymphatic vessels, a fluid called lymph. So it's like in the circulatory system we have blood, well in the lymphatic system we have lymph. Then glands and organs such as the spleen, adenoids, tonsils, thymus, lymph nodes, and appendix. The largest organ of the lymphatic organ is the spleen. The smallest vessel of the lymphatic system are called lymphatic capillaries and lacteals. Remember the lacteals. Also, lymphatic capillaries, remember, arteries also branch into smaller arteries called capillaries. So even in the lymphatic system, we have the lymphatic capillaries. Okay, and the lacteal, which is also in the video of the small intestines. These small vessels join up to form bigger vessels called the lymphatics or lymphatic vessels. So it is these lymphatic capillaries which are very small, which join up to form the lymphatic vessels or the lymphatics. So the biggest lymphatic vessels are called thoracic ducts. That's the name of the biggest lymphatic vessels. So each thoracic duct drains lymph into a subclavian vein near the junction of the neck and the arm. So between the junction of the neck and the arm, there is a vein there, which is part of the circulatory system, where lymph is taken to by this thoracic duct. So once the lymph is prepared, it is taken to the circulatory system. Okay. So we end this discussion by taking a look at most prominent features of lymphatic vessels, and this should be your key takeaways on this system. So the first prominent feature is a valve. Just like in the blood circulatory system, in the lymphatic system, we have valves which keep the lymph flowing in one direction by preventing backflow. Now, if I ask a question, in the blood circulatory system, we have the heart that pumps blood around the body. What about in the lymphatic system? What do we have? So in the lymphatic system, we don't have any organ that pumps the lymph around the body. So what happens is the lymph, the flow of the lymph is assisted by contraction of muscles and breathing movements of the thorax and abdomen. So as you are breathing, that breathing movement helps the lymph to move from one point to another. The next important feature of a lymphatic system are the lymph nodes. So these ones, they produce and store lymphocytes, which are added to the lymph as it passes through on its way to the subclavian vein. Remember the subclavian vein, which is on your neck, between your neck and your arm. So this vein is the one that receives lymph from the lymphatic system. Okay, so now the lymph nodes, what they do is they produce lymphocytes, the white blood cells, which are meant to defend the bodies against infection. So once the lymphocytes are produced, they are kept till when they are ready to be moved. So then at some point they are secreted into the lymph, and the lymph is going to be taken to the subclavian vein so that the lymphocytes are part of the blood. Now, the fact that the lymph is taken to the blood, it can happen that the lymph has or is infected. So, how does the lymphatic system make sure that the lymph that is added to the blood is not infected? So, the lymph nodes also, they filter foreign bodies, bacteria, and dead tissue from the lymph before it joins the blood. So, these are the functions of the lymph nodes. The last one is they become very active when the body is invaded by foreign bodies, becoming swollen and tender in the process. So when there is an attack on the body, the lymph nodes become very active, okay, to make sure that the body is well protected. So this marks the end of the transport in man. This marks the end of transport in man, or in animals, or in mammals. Happy solving.